We all carry regrets, but when we let the past control us, we lose today's gift. This is the story of Michael, a man trapped in yesterday, who discovers the power of living in the present and finds freedom in now. This story could be the turning point you have been waiting for. Stay with us till the end. Life has a way of reminding us of our past, especially when we are trying to move forward. For Michael, every day felt like a struggle against memories that refused to fade. He was a man in his early 30s, living in a quiet apartment filled with silence, yet crowded with regrets. Old photographs sat scattered on his table, each one a reminder of dreams that had slipped away and mistakes that had carved scars deep into his heart. In one picture, he saw himself as a young graduate, full of ambition, ready to conquer the world. In another, he saw the shadow of choices that had cost him friendships, opportunities, and trust. Each image whispered the same haunting message: you could have been more. Michael carried these voices like chains, dragging them into every new day. He avoided gatherings, ignored opportunities, and pushed away people who tried to help, believing he was undeserving of second chances. His heart had become a prisoner of the past, locked inside the walls of shame and regret. Nights were the hardest, when silence grew louder and memories replayed like an endless film, reminding him of promises broken and paths never taken. Even when new opportunities knocked, Michael's first instinct was to turn away, convinced he would only fail again. Friends told him to let go, to move on, to focus on the present, but their words felt empty against the weight he carried inside. He thought the past had already written his story, leaving no room for change. What Michael didn't realize was that his life was still unfolding, and that sometimes, the most powerful chapters begin when you decide to stop looking back. But in that moment, all he knew was the pain of yesterday, unaware that a single encounter was about to shift his perspective forever. It was on a quiet afternoon when Michael, weighed down by the same restless thoughts, decided to take a walk through the city park. The air was crisp, and the rustling leaves carried a sense of calm that he hadn't felt in a long time. He sat down on an empty bench, lost in his own world of regrets, when an elderly man slowly approached and asked if he could sit beside him. Michael nodded, and they sat in silence for a few minutes, listening to the laughter of children playing nearby. The old man, whose name was Thomas, eventually turned to Michael and said gently, "Why does your face look like it's carrying yesterday's burdens?" The unexpected word startled him. Michael hesitated, but something about Thomas's calm presence made him open up. He spoke of missed opportunities, broken relationships, and the guilt that seemed to follow him everywhere. Thomas listened patiently, his eyes kind but piercing, as if he had known the same struggle once before. After a long pause, Thomas smiled softly and said, "Son, the past is like a book you've already read. You cannot erase the pages, but you can choose not to stay stuck in them. Every morning gives you a new page to write. Why waste today rewriting yesterday?" Michael felt those words strike deep into his heart, more powerful than any advice he had ever heard. For the first time, he realized that maybe his past didn't have to be his prison, it could simply be a lesson. Thomas then placed a hand on Michael's shoulder and added, "Don't let your history steal your present. If you keep looking back, you'll miss the beauty standing right in front of you." As the sun dipped lower and painted the sky with golden hues, Michael felt a strange lightness in his chest. He had come to the park carrying the weight of yesterday, but he left with a seed of hope planted in his heart, one that whispered change was still possible. The next morning, Michael woke up earlier than usual, his mind still echoing with Thomas's words, "Don't let your history steal your present." For years, mornings had been the hardest part of his day, when the heaviness of regret reminded him of all that he had lost. But something felt different this time. Instead of reaching for the old photographs or replaying memories in his head, he forced himself to focus on what he could do in that very moment. He stood before the mirror, staring at a reflection he had once avoided, and whispered quietly, "Today, I begin again." At first, the words felt awkward, almost unbelievable, but the act of saying them sparked a flicker of strength. Later that day, he opened his laptop and began searching for jobs. Normally, he would have closed it immediately, convincing himself he wasn't good enough, but this time he pushed through the doubt and filled out an application. His hands trembled as he typed, yet with every word, he felt the invisible chains of the past loosening. That evening, he called an old friend he hadn't spoken to in years. Their laughter reminded him that relationships could be rebuilt, that not everything was lost. Slowly, Michael realized that every small action he took in the present, whether it was sending an application, reconnecting with a friend, or simply walking outside without drowning in shame, was a victory over the past that once controlled him. The days that followed weren't perfect. There were moments when old regrets tried to creep back in, but now he had a choice. He could either look back and let them consume him, or he could step into today and take control of his life. And each time he chose the present, he felt stronger, freer, and more alive. For the first time in years, Michael wasn't just existing, he was living. Several weeks later, Michael found himself walking through the same park where he had first met Thomas. The trees swayed gently in the breeze, the laughter of children echoed in the distance, and the sky stretched wide and bright above him. But this time, something was different. Michael was different. The man who once sat on this very bench, weighed down by the ghosts of yesterday, was no longer the same. His heart felt lighter, his steps more certain, and his eyes carried a spark of hope that had long been missing. He thought back to the simple yet powerful words Thomas had spoken, "The past is like a book you've already read." It was a truth that had reshaped his life. Michael had begun living in the present, no longer measuring his worth by past mistakes. He had secured a small job that gave him purpose, reconnected with people who cared about him, and most importantly, started to believe in himself again. Standing beneath the golden glow of the afternoon sun, Michael closed his eyes and whispered, "Yesterday shaped me, but it doesn't define me. Today is mine to live." In that moment, he realized that true freedom was not about erasing the past, it was about accepting it, learning from it, and then stepping boldly into the present. Life wasn't waiting for him in some distant future, it was happening right now, in every breath, every choice, every heartbeat. A smile spread across his face as he walked away from the bench, no longer a prisoner of regret but a man embracing each day as a gift. Michael had finally discovered the beauty of living in the moment, and with that, he stepped into a new beginning filled with courage, gratitude, and hope.